A super user / hacker has been detected on Ggpoker, and in this video I will talk about all the details surrounding this scandal. Yesterday on December 28, a new account started posting on 2plus2, the biggest poker forum in the world. The account with the name GG Super User started talking about an alleged super user on Ggpoker called MoneyTaker69. He writes, in December, MoneyTaker won 90 big blinds per 100 on Ggpoker in 8,900 hands, playing 53% VPIP. So this player plays primarily six-handed poker, six-handed no-limit hold'em, and plays a lot more hands than any profitable player. The general VPIP range of a winning player is anywhere between 20 and 30 on average. So if someone plays a 50% VPIP, which means half the hands possible, they are going to be a losing player by definition. There's no way around it. However, you might also think this might be variance, maybe it's a fish on a heater, but you will see shortly that this is not what is happening here. Soon after, he binged $150 Sunday MTT for $47,586 while playing an extremely volatile strategy, which aroused a lot of suspicion. We will look into some of the hand histories this player or account has played that will make it very obvious that this is not just a fish on a heater. Ggpoker has acknowledged the situation privately and is preparing to address it, which happened today, but it's important for the public to know immediately due to the significance of super using. Next up, we will look into the results. So these results are compiled by a website called SmartHand, and SmartHand tracks all the cash game hands that are played across multiple poker sites, including Ggpoker. And on the top left here, we can see MoneyTaker69, a Ggpoker account, has so far played 9,200 hands. The average stake was no limit 200, and the win rate is 83.9 big blinds, leaving him with a win of $15,400. Now, if you look at the hands and how they're distributed, most of the hands were played short-handed, and most of the hands were played on no limit 200, but it is a mix between 100, 200, and 500, and some 1K. The most important part to pay attention to here in terms of strategy is he's playing primarily short-handed poker, which means 6 players are sitting, and he's playing a VPIP of 52.7. So this is an unwinnable strategy long-term, but again, maybe this is just a fish on the heater. However, this obviously aroused some suspicion, and we're going to look into a couple of further posts that cement this evidence further before looking into Ggpoker's statement. The first thing we need to look into is variance. So the main criticism of people reading OP's post was that this is just a fish on a heater and there's no evidence that this player is actually cheating. And although technically speaking they are right, this is not clear evidence, there's no smoking gun here at play, we do need to understand statistical probabilities when it comes to win and loss rates and sample size in poker a bit better. So to begin with, this player is playing a 53% VPIP. And that is important because we know from billions of hands that have been played online that when someone plays 53% of hands pre-flop in 6-max hold'em, they're not going to be a winning player. And we can use a tool like PrimeDope's variance calculator, which there's a screenshot of it in this post, and we can have 20 sample runs, which is what these lines represent, under an assumed win or loss rate. In this case, OP, so the original poster, has assumed a loss rate of minus 50 big blinds. And from my understanding of loss rates of recreational players playing this kind of style, this is a reasonable loss rate. However, I would say this is not the strongest form of evidence just because we are not sure what the exact loss rate is of a player like this. We don't know how this guy plays post-flop, if he isn't cheating, and that plays a big role in determining how big someone's loss rate actually is. For example, if someone plays 52% hands pre-flop but plays really good post-flop, they probably don't end up losing 50 big blinds per 100, but their loss rate will be a bit smaller, and that will have an impact on the possibility or probability of winning after 9,000 hands. Anyway, assuming a 50 big blind loss rate, we can see here that it is actually practically impossible or actually impossible to win as much as MoneyTaker has won in the span of 9,000 hands. Now, you might have played against a player who plays kind of wild and a lot of hands pre-flop and so on, and you have seen that player win multiple pots, but we're talking here about 77 buy-ins. So that is obviously much different than just a fish winning 5 or even 10 binds in the span of a couple of 100 or 1,000 hands. 77 binds is a massive win, and it's very, very hard or actually impossible at this assumed loss rate to produce such a result, statistically speaking. The next thing we're going to look into are hand histories. Now, even though we're not going to find a smoking gun or definite proof that this player is cheating or isn't cheating in a hand history or multiple hand histories, it adds to the mountain of evidence that we need to look into and stack up in order to sway our decision more into one or the other direction. So remember, this is a guy, although playing a lot of hands preflop, who's completely destroying the games, and we want to understand how this player is actually doing this and pulling this off. This hand took place at a 2-5 no limit hold'em Texas cash game. So we're playing cash here, and Money Taker is sitting in the big blind, or sits in the big blind on a 25 big blind stack on a beautiful Jack Deuce offsuit. Let's see how this hand plays out. So we have a raise to 2.5 big blinds, and this is by the button, and then Money Taker defends. So far, it's not too unusual because this guy plays 52% of hands. Although Jack Deuce off might not even be a part of that range. But anyway, he does decide to defend, and the flop comes ace, queen, 7 with 2 clubs and 1 diamond. Remember, Money Taker has Jack, Deuce, no club. It goes lead out, min. So min bet by Money Taker, and then the button raises to 5.9 big blinds, in this case holding 5-4 of clubs. Now it continues by Money Taker floating or calling with Jack high. The turn is a 6. Money Taker leads out once again for 1 big blind. And then we have the button who raises all in on a 6. And Money Taker makes this call. Now notice this is not 100 big blinds. This is 25 big blinds effective. But still, Money Taker donks the flop, donks the turn, and stacks off with Jack Deuce offsuit. And you could say, well, this guy's just trying to give away money. But the matter of the fact is that he had the best hand at that point because he runs into 5-4 of clubs. Even though he ends up losing the hand, it is clear that this player put in all the chips with the best hand when the money went in. So how was this possible? Just a punt, or is here potentially foul play at hand?
This is a pure bluff catcher.
With Jack high?
So the second hand we're going to look into is played at no limit 100. Notice at the top it says Poker Stars, but this hand is actually played on Ggpoker. This is just a mechanic of tracking the hand by smart hand and then converting it into a hand history. Money Taker is sitting in the small blind and he has 282 big blinds and he's sitting on a beautiful 5-8 offsuit. Here's what happens. We have Money Taker first in who limps from the small blind. The big blind min raises and Money Taker calls. Flop comes ace, 9-8, 2 spades and 1 club. And Money Taker has flopped bottom pair with 5-8. He leads out for 1 big blind and gets raised to 7 big blinds. And with bottom pair, he naturally makes the call. The turn is a 7. So at this point, Money Taker has still the best hand because, reveal, his opponent has 7-6 offsuit. So his opponent has flopped an open-ender and has turned a pair. Money Taker leads once again, but this time half pot and gets called. And then the river brings in a deuce. So Money Taker has still just a pair of 8s and his opponent has a pair of 7s. Now Money Taker block bets the river for 7 big blinds and gets jammed all in for 100 big blinds and goes ahead and makes this call and runs magically into a bluff of 7-6 off. Once again, if you look at these hands, none of these hands will present a smoking gun. We're just stacking evidence here to create a complete picture.
She had 4 Jack high.
What?
Whoa!
Look at
Whoa! What the fuck?
Let's jump into another hand. This one is, it's unclear which stakes are being played here, but Money Taker is sitting on a pair of deuces pre. So he has the ducks. And his opponent has king 9 of hearts. What happens here is Money Taker limps in from MP with pocket deuces, and he gets raised to 3.63 big blinds by the player in the cutoff. Money Taker calls, and they're heading to a flop. The flop is ace, jack 4. Remember, Money Taker has pocket deuces. He checks the flop, and faces a small 1/3 pot size bet and is going to min raise the flop. At this point, he has the best hand because his opponent has king 9 of hearts. This actually will become important later on when we reveal how the cheating actually happened or what kind of information Money Taker had access to. So his opponent goes out and calls and floats with king 9, and the turn brings in a deuce. At this point, Money Taker still has the best hand holding pocket deuces, and he leads out once again for 5 big blinds. His opponent makes another float. River brings in a 7, so the board reads out ace jack 4 3 7. Money Taker has pocket deuces and bets 1/3 before his opponent jams all in, and Money Taker makes the call and stacks off with a pair of deuces up against king 9.
I thought you were on ace high. Ace high.
And then so why call with jack high then?
First of all, a little bit of a straight draw. I have blockers on there.
No, on the turn though. So you called all in on the turn because...
Yeah, because you don't have shit.
So this will be the last hand we're going to look into here in the highlight wheel. This is actually from the tournament that Money Taker has won, the GG Masters $150. And here's how this hand plays out. So Money Taker wakes up with ace 9 offsuit in the small blind and notice his opponent has king queen of hearts. Everyone folds to the cutoff with king queen of hearts, who raises 2 big blinds, and then Money Taker flats with ace 9 off, big blind folds, and the flop comes down jack 4 3. So ace high versus king high. Money Taker leads out for a full pot and gets ripped all in for 22.3 big blinds and makes the call against king queen. The board runs out bricks and Money Taker takes down the pot. So again, if you actually knew you have the best hand, you can donk the flop and you can stack off, but more about exactly the mechanisms of cheating later in this video. So before Ggpoker made an official statement, obviously people were questioning how this player is able to cheat and how the cheat is actually working. What is pretty clear is that this player is not using RTA or real-time assistance because this is by no means connected to GTO. This player is not winning at a 15 big blind or 20 big blind win rate, just destroying his opponents by playing theoretically optimal. This player knows if he has the best hand or he doesn't. So the idea of RTA was thrown out pretty quickly, and people were assuming that this player needs to know their opponent's whole cards in order to make such precise decisions like the ones we saw. But actually, the way it works is a little bit different, and that's where we get to today's statement by Ggpoker. So here is the security update by Ggpoker posted today on the 29th of December 2023. Ggpoker recently spotted unusual game patterns and abnormal game client packets from a user nicknamed MoneyTaker69. Our technical team investigated the issue, identified a client-side vulnerability, and fixed what caused these unusual circumstances. We have banned the user and confiscated the unfair winnings, equating to $29,000. Below are the details of how this player exploited the system and gained an unfair advantage. A couple of interesting takeaways here already. What most people were struggling with to understand is how this figure comes together, $29,795. We do know from the 2+2 post that Money Taker has won $15,000 in cash games and also won at least one tournament here for $47,000, potentially playing more tournaments and having more winnings. It's hard to imagine a player with this kind of access to the software is going to lose some money in some tournaments, but who knows? Anyway, I think what Ggpoker is saying here is that they have banned this account and they have confiscated whatever was left in the account balance, which equated to $29,000. What they're not saying is how much money they're giving back to their customers / the Ggpoker players who were affected by the foul play. I think Ggpoker made a mistake here by not transparently communicating if they're going to pay out more than the confiscated $29,000. And the community at large has looked at this statement as in they're going to pay out $29,000, even though the customers of Ggpoker were harmed by more dollars given the results of MoneyTaker69. So I think it's important for GG to come forward and disclose what their plan is to pay back the customers that were here at a disadvantage of the cheating / hacking scandal. So the statement further reads, under a specific set of circumstances related to the thumbs up, thumbs down table reaction feature, which involves decompilation of our Windows game client, interception of network traffic, and alternations to our game packets, MoneyTaker69 was able to customize his own game client. So basically what they're saying is that this user or user group, this hacker or hacker group, was able to modify the Ggpoker game client, the Windows game client, and create their own version, which allowed them backdoor information. And we're going to talk about this information right now. These customizations, so again, we're talking about the customizations of their own client, the copy of the Ggpoker client, could only be made to our Windows desktop game client, since part of our desktop client leverages the Adobe Air framework, which has attack vectors that other frameworks do not. At no point was the user able to access our server or server data, including others' hole cards. So GG basically is saying here that this player was not able to see the hole cards, but actually was able to use a different mechanism in order to see something else, which we're going to see in the next sentence. Through this customized game client, he was able to deduce all-in equity by exploiting a client-side data leak vector. So this player was able to see what the equity was, potentially at all points, pre-flop, flop, and turn, maybe only on the flop and the turn, by being able to pass up the information that was sent from the server, so Ggpoker server, or the framework, into the client side. Right, so the client, which is you, the user, is awaiting information from the server, and some of that information are the odds or the equities in play. And this client, this customized client of this hacker, was able to basically get access to this package and see what the equities were of every player or every player that he was involved with. So that was the leak. Our engineers detected this vulnerability and issued an emergency update on December 16 to disable the thumbs up, thumbs down table reactions. However, the user was already in possession of a customized game client, which he blocked from receiving further updates. So this is a common problem in software development. If you are trying to push a change, but not every user is going to update their version, then you're not going to fix the leak in this case. You need to change the backend code. You need to fix the leak in the backend, and you cannot just push an update because this user, MoneyTaker69, would hold on to his own client version and wouldn't force an update. And he was able to continue to accumulate the data leak during the flop and the turn. Through this accumulated data, he could guess his win probabilities with reasonable assurance. We have since issued security patches to prevent further client-side data leaks of this kind, and we have added solutions that will detect and prevent players from customizing the game client to their benefit. We will refund $29,000 to the affected players and also reconcile the payout for the impacted tournaments in the next 24 hours. So this is a little bit murky. I'm not sure what they're saying when they say they are going to reconcile the payouts. The $29,000 here is a bit weird because we do know, once again, that MoneyTaker did win a $50K tournament and also won $15K in cash games. So how can the balance be $29,000? Did this player cash out? If he did cash out, I think Ggpoker should come up with the money themselves. If he chip dumped, then there's kind of the same story. And if he lost the money back against some players, which is kind of hard to believe given the backdoor access, then I think this should also be clarified. But once again, I think a lot of people have an issue with this specific number. They don't really understand how this comes together given the results of MoneyTaker69. We sincerely apologize for the incident, which has caused many poker players to worry about the game's integrity and shaken their trust in Ggpoker to provide the best poker experience. We take this incident very seriously and continue to work hard to not disappoint poker players. Additionally, we are actively recruiting to double the size of our technical security team and are enlisting help from renowned security professionals to ensure that online poker is safer than ever. But this is interesting. Ggpoker is reaching out and is looking to staff up, which makes sense. We would like to thank the poker community. This incident further proves the power of our community and the poker players' hive minds, as constructive community feedback gave us great confidence in resolving this issue. We We will continue to take community feedback seriously and open our ears and comments and suggestions. Let's build a safe future together. So I think what's important in this statement is that the community is and will always play a big part in detecting foul play. We are at the tables, we pay attention, we see hand histories, and it also brings up this whole topic of data collection, because data, once again, is really what helps the community to self-police. And taking away data from the users is certainly putting a lot of trust and also responsibility to different poker sites, which, as we can see, is not always the best thing because they can't detect everything. It is just impossible. It's kind of a cat and mouse game. You don't know how the cheaters and the hackers are going to attack you, so they will try something first. And the speed in which you recognize the foul play is going to be of essence, and players can definitely be of massive help. So now we're going to read through different comments from the poker community over on 2plus2 Reddit and X. And I'm going to talk about a couple of different takes and subjects related to the hacker scandal. The first one was by OP, the original poster on 2plus2, and it goes in accordance with the potentially coincidental name choice. Money Taker is actually a known hacker group, and we're not sure if Money Taker 69 is a part of the hacker group, or if he's just an imposter, or if it's just a coincidence. But here we see a couple of references. Money Taker, so the group, hackers stole 1 million from a Russian bank. Money Taker has targeted at least 16 US organizations. A cybercriminal hacking group likely operating out of Russia or a Russian-speaking country. And also Money Taker cybercriminals stole $10 million from so-and-so. So it's pretty interesting. Maybe this is actually the hacker group Money Taker, or an imposter, or someone who's trying to move the attention to the hacker group, but is actually not part of Money Taker. So here, longtime No Limit Hold'em high stakes cash game player Dino Supremo says they were also 10th in the 1K GG Masters on the same Sunday. They were cheating on this account and all the other ones that came before it too. GG can rot. So it's interesting, like, this kind of access doesn't necessarily ensure you're going to win, because you do know the equities, but you're not sure if you're going to hold. So you don't know the whole run out. You can get the money in good, but obviously there are spots in a tournament where you just need to get the money in, and you can also lose to a bad beat. I don't think these cheaters were afraid of getting caught or were concerned about being deceptive. You can tell based on the ridiculous hand histories that we saw. They weren't afraid of leaving trails behind, but there are different theories of why that is. 2plus2 poster Eddie King claims to be a cybersecurity professional / expert, and he sums up the situation in 3 main points. First one being, the main problem here is not the hack. He could see the EVs, I think he means the equities, and this is enough to know if you're going to win or lose the hand. I don't think Eddie King is a poker expert, but if you see the equities, you're not sure if you're going to win or lose the hand, because you don't know the run out, you don't know what's going to come on the river, and therefore we did see the hacker lose some hands, even though deception wasn't of high priority. We did see the hacker going in 10th place in a 1K tournament because he can still get bad beated because he doesn't know what the run out is going to be. So it's not a case of a super user in play, it is a case of a hacker. He did it by examining packets. So again, these are pieces of information that were sent between the server of GG and the client, and in those packets, the hacker was able to get access to that piece of information and therefore retrieve the equities that were in play. I wonder where he got this idea from. So here Eddie is alluding to the fact that he wrote an article about how the Ggpoker software is compromisable a while ago and also sent it to GG. And he is claiming that GG largely ignored him, and that now there's a possibility that this hacker read the article, used the article, and then build his own client to get access to the equities. The main problem here is the fact that GG was and is still clueless about security of their game and players. In perfect cyber terms, they lack the visibility they need to detect such things. I think the issue here is also that when you build a software, when you have an environment, when you have a website, you build a fortress and you're trying to protect it as well as possible from hackers. But at the end of the day, you're always one step behind because you don't know how you're going to get attacked. So it's important to have a competent team to build a fortress as strong as possible. But at the same time, you also need to act quickly once you have identified a leak in your fortress. At the end of the day, hackers are extremely powerful. Organizations and companies much bigger and financially stronger than GG are getting hacked all the times. Banks are getting stolen millions of dollars from cyber attacks. Recently in Vegas, the MGM group was hacked. Caesars got hacked. And it's hard to protect against because you're always in this cat and mouse environment where you don't know how you're going to get attacked next. I think what's important is that Ggpoker, wants to staff up and use more resources for security, but also the community is playing a big part in it. We have more eyes together, and we need to make sure that if we see and spot things that are irregularly, that we act quickly. In this case, it seems like Eddie King knew something, and it looks like, unfortunately, it kind of got ignored. But also on the other side, I'm personally asking myself, did he actually post the full instruction on how to compromise the GG software publicly? Because I think a smarter way of doing that would be you want to reach out to GG and you can post publicly, but I don't think you should be posting a manual for other people to use in order to compromise the software. I'm not sure if this is what happened, but it kind of sounds like that. Let's move on. Number 2. The community must demand full disclosure. Unfortunately, I know for a fact that the pros and GG will try to bury this story. When I published my article, some of the GG pros, I will not name names, but I have some messages kept, asked me what is the plus EV thing that I get from publishing such a thing. I found it very strange and troubling. So I think it's important to make distinctions here. Talking publicly about potential loopholes, about potential threats that poker sites are facing is very healthy, and it's something that we need to keep talking about as technology evolves. On the other side, posting manuals on how to hack a poker site is obviously not a good thing, but again, I'm not informed enough and knowledgeable enough about IT in order to make a judgment here. And then 3, this player got caught thanks to the community and information sharing. If someone smart is still doing these kinds of cheats, it will take a lot longer in order to catch them. And I think this is a very important part. Number 1, the community plays a big role. Having access to hands and also uniting together on platforms such as 2+2, Reddit, and Twitter is very helpful. But also, what is troubling is that this player, this hacker group, they really didn't care about getting caught. If someone actually cares about making poker money, maybe this hacker group is very rich or they just don't have a motive that is, they don't have a monetary motive, then this kind of exploit could have gone on for years. Because if you play smart, you're not going to win a 90 big blind. You're not going to capture a 90 win rate. If you play smart, you're not going to go for a 90 big blind win rate. You're going to keep it stable. And you could definitely do that for years at a time, remaining undetected. And I think that is definitely in some ways troublesome. At the same time, the biggest cases of cheating and scandals are always getting blown up. And we kind of feel like, okay, now everyone is cheating and it happens everywhere. But that's not the reality. It's still a far minority of games that are compromised. But it's certainly something to always be aware of and keep your eyes open. What's concerning about the story to me is that someone got caught cheating because they didn't care. This player, MoneyTaker69, didn't want to remain undetected. They didn't play deceptive, they didn't play clever, but they could have, and then remained undetected for a much longer time, extracting a lot more money out of the community. I'm not sure what MoneyTaker69's motives were, but probably at the end, he wanted to be famous, and that's why he played in a reckless way so that he actually got detected and received the fame of the online poker community. Now, the questions that remain is, are there other money takers out there? And also, what can we do as a community to protect ourselves better? What is Ggpoker's responsibility in terms of staffing up, but also in terms of transparency on how they're going to handle this case? At the moment, they're acting like the lid is closed and everything is secured, but do we believe that? Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this case and what can be done moving forward.